I tell you how to basically, hopefully do the techniques. That our health really is dependent upon ourselves. 70 years ago, there were no drugs. The only drug we had is food. And now with new advances in molecular biology, we understand how powerful food is to control not only the hormones, but the expression of our genes. It's a powerful statement. That we have a drug in our kitchen, if we choose to use it correctly, that will basically change the expression of our genes. I cannot change my genes. They're bad, very bad, but I can change their expression. That's a powerful statement, and that's basically, we're really going back to the beginnings of medicine, when Hippocrates said, let food be your medicine, let medicine be your food. We now know what the old guy was talking about. He was talking about how food affects hormones and how those hormones can alter the genetic expression of our genes. And if we only know what those rules are and follow them on a lifetime basis, then basically we have the most powerful medicine. And to follow those rules, all you need is one hand and one eye.
I love it. I love it. We got about 6 minutes left. Real quickly, can you describe to the audience the benefits of consuming omega-3 oils, and which type of omega-3 is healthier in your opinion? The plant sources like flaxseed, which somebody like Udo Erasmus is kind of on the bandwagon on, or the marine-based type fish oils that you promote?
Well, the key thing about omega-3 fatty acids, and these are only germane to the long-chain ones found in fish oils, at high enough levels, they are powerful anti-inflammatory drugs. Now, with that being said, the ones from plant sources, like flaxseed, they are very inefficiently converted to the long-chain ones.
So it starts with alpha-linolenic acid,
exactly.
Then you get it converted to EPA.
But that's a very slow and inefficient process in humans. So you have to consume 50 to 100 times the volume of flaxseed oil to get the same anti-inflammatory benefits of a much smaller amount of fish oil. Unfortunately, most fish oils are contaminated. That's a fact of life, with things like mercury, PCBs, dioxins, flame retardants. And these are like the Roach Motel. Once they check in your body, they don't check out. So you have to look for fish oils which are high quality. Well, how can you tell? Well, unless you got $500,000 of testing equipment in your house, you probably can't. Here's the easy way. Take your fish oil, it's in capsules, squeeze out 4 or 5, put it into a shot glass, put it in the freezer, and come back 5 hours later with a toothpick. If you can't put the toothpick through the fish oil, what you've been taking is the sewer of the sea. and so
mostly it's fractionated with saturated fat?
That's right.
It doesn't freeze.
But again, saturated fat, but the fact that it has a saturated fat there means all the other toxins which are found in fish oil are still there.
I don't think a lot of people know that.
No.
So can you elaborate a little bit more on pharmaceutical grade? What does
Well,
that
a
exactly
pharmaceutical
mean?
grade,
It should be a concern for most consumers.
It says what you have done is take the active ingredients and concentrate them up and remove the impurities. Essentially what you have now is weapons grade fish oil. Highly pure, highly potent, ready to go for action. And most of the clinical studies which have been done have used weapons grade fish oil. But here's the caveat. Natural products work, but you have to give a therapeutic dose. And it turns out that is a lot of fish oil. We published one study last year with children with ADHD. And all we did was give them very high levels of fish oil, measure their blood as it came down, and when it did, all of a sudden, the ADHD disappeared. Why? Because basically, they were not getting enough of vitamin F to control the inflammation.
EFA.
To basically it was giving rise to basically now increased hyperactivity.
And you're saying that pharmaceutical grade has to be at least 60%,
at least
from what I understand,
because
of polyunsaturated
because
fish
now
oil?
it'll pass the toothpick
test. And there was another one, the AA versus EPA ratio.
That's
going to be too high in the sky.
Yeah, that's too arcane for most people.
Okay. Last question. And this is a long one.
All right.
And I was, about 6 years ago, I had the pleasure to hear you speak at the world-renowned Natick Labs in Massachusetts, which turned out to be a debate between you and, of all people, a captain in the Army, which I won't mention. He claimed that your diet wasn't supported by the scientific literature, stating that the protein-to-carbohydrate ratio that you promote, which is 0.75, in other words, for every 4 grams of carbs one consumes on your diet, one would consume 3 grams of protein, hence the 40-30, 40% carbs, 30% protein, recommendation. On the other hand, mainstream dietitians at the time were advocating a protein-to-carb ratio of 0.27, 0.25. In other words, for every 4 grams of carbs, one would consume only 1 gram of protein, or 55% carbohydrate, and only 15% protein recommendation. Your premise, if I understand this, what I read in your book, is that this 0.75 ratio decreases insulin concentrations more than the recommendations of 55% carb, 15% protein. His findings, however, said there were no significant differences between insulin concentrations between the ratios of protein and carbohydrates you promote in the zone diet versus the RDA recommendations. Since this is the central basis of your book, he dismissed the proposed benefits you promote in the book in regards to health and weight control. Now, 6 years have passed since then, and correct me if I'm wrong, many studies have been conducted that actually support your 40% carb, 30% protein ratio, and that the results of these studies showed favorable change.